Hello and welcome to our in-depth stretches on the floor. In this stretching routine, you will need a cushion to place on the floor. It could either be a mat, if you have a hard floor, or just a carpeted floor in general will probably work for you, but we are going to be working on our hands and knees, so have cushioning as available. Also something that won't slip underneath you as you move around. Some of you may also want a chair. A chair can be used to help you up and down from the ground, but also with some of our stretches, we will be doing things where we're in positions where you might want to use it for balance too. So I'll just be having my chair hang out back here. You can do the same if you like, but not required. And if you have any wrist issues, many people have difficulty putting their hands flat on the ground during the stretching routine. So I encourage you to grab some towels and you can create little towel rolls to help you out. Of course, if you have other cushions or like foam rolls, a half foam roll at home, you can use those. But a quick, easy fix is to grab some towels. This is just a hand towel that I rolled up. If you just need a little bit of assistance, it helps you put your palms on the towel with your fingers on the mat, which makes it so that it's not as quite of a sharp angle at your wrist while you're putting weight on it. But if that's not quite enough, then I encourage you to use the bath towel instead. So here I have a bath towel. Again, I just roll it up, and the thicker the towel, the more support you're going to have, okay? And again, you can place your palms on that with your fingers hanging off as you go through these stretches. Wonderful. So I am not going to be demonstrating with this, but I just want you to have those available if you need them. So in this routine, we are going to be doing a lot of in-depth back stretches and hip stretches, leg stretches. This is fantastic in general for people with Parkinson's. Many people have some severe issues with rigidity in their spine, especially with rotation motions. So we're going to be doing a lot of stretches that require you to move in different motions in that spine to work on that rigidity. We are also, as I said, going to be doing a lot of hip and leg stretches. And all of these are great if you are somebody that's having leg pain and tightness or back pain and tightness. These are fantastic stretches to be doing on a regular basis. All right, so let's get into it. Get set up on the ground. We are going to start off on our hands and knees, but we are going to be focusing on our hands and wrists to start off with. All right. So again, as I said, for some people, this can be hard to just be in this position. So use your towel roll if needed. But we are going to be starting off with stretching those wrists. I want you to start with spreading those fingers wide and trying to flatten them out on the ground. Now from here, this might be a stretch for you already. If you feel a stretch right back here in the forearm, then that's great. If you feel like you could go a little bit more, we're going to lean forward a little bit to increase the bend in the wrist and lean back. Okay? So do this as it feels comfortable for you. But again, you might feel a good stretch just having those palms flat on the ground. Okay, we're going to go back and forth just a couple more times. Loosening up those wrists because we're going to be doing a lot with them while we're in these different positions. Next up, this is even harder. I'm going to put my fingers down, and as best as able, I'm going to see if I can put my weight down like so. So now my fingers are pointing the opposite direction they were a moment ago, and this just changes the direction of the stretch a little bit. For some of you, you may not be able to get into this position, but I encourage you to give it your best try. And then the same thing, we're going to rock back and forth a little bit, okay? Please don't do anything that feels painful, or if you have any tingling in the fingers, anything like that, back off. But we are just stretching those hands and forearms and wrists while we are here. Okay, wonderful. Now back into the standard position. That might even feel a little easier now to have your palms flat on the mat after you did a little bit of stretching for them there. Okay, next up, we are going to start with our spine stretches. And we are going to start with cat-cow, which might be something that you're familiar with, where we round our spine and look at our belly buttons, right? So I'm even going all the way through the neck. I'm rounding my spine, and then I'm letting it sink down as I look out in front of me. Okay, and I'm trying to keep those shoulders away from my ears. And again, I'm going to look at my belly button as I round my spine up. And then I'm going to let it sink down as I look out ahead. And I'm going to do that a couple more times. You might hear me breathing. Breathe with me. I'm breathing out as I look at my belly button. And breathing in as I look out in front of me. Try to get as much motion in your spine as you can. So again, I'm lifting, I'm rounding my spine. Try to lift as high as you can while looking at that belly button. And then the reverse. Sink down and look out in front of you. Very good. All right, next up, the next spine motion we're going to do are what we call the barrel rolls. You pretend like you've gotten yourself somehow stuck inside of a barrel and you are scraping out the insides of that barrel. So this is a beautiful one where we are getting that spine going in all different motions. We're getting rotation as well as some side flexion. Good, so keep scraping out the inside of that barrel. Around and around, trying to get as big of a movement as you can. But mostly in the back, minimal movement in the arms. And now go the other direction with those barrel rolls. Around and around. Good, scraping out every corner. Good. Okay, back to the center. The next motion we're going to do is a spine twist while we are down here. And this is considered the power twist on your hands and knees. If you're familiar with the power moves, this is also a yoga move. We're going to take one hand, we're going to slip it down underneath us, and we are going to reach as far as we can underneath us. Okay, then I'm going to lift up that arm towards the ceiling as I look up as far as I can go. Try to keep engaged all the way through the fingertips. Notice my fingertips are straight, my elbow is straight. And then again, I bring it down, I dip down, reaching as far as I can go. And then a big up, fingertips engaged, arms straight, looking up in that big twist. And let's do a couple more. Reach down and look at that hand over there. And then big up, 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 up. Make sure you keep breathing. One more time. Reach up. Again, I'm trying to keep that shoulder away from my ears. Sometimes it likes to creep up there, so keep it down. And now we're going to do the other side. Okay, so take the other hand and dip it underneath and reach as far as you can go. And then reach up, 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 up towards the ceiling, engaging those fingertips. And then back down and up. Big reach, big reach. And down. And up. Remember, reach as big as you can up towards that ceiling. Elbows straight, fingertips engaged. Let's do one more. Very good. Okay, so that's the extent of our spine mobility here in this position, but we will be doing more in a little bit in a different position. Now, we are going to go ahead and stretch our toes a little bit. So see, my toes have been kind of pointed back here. I'm going to see if I can get my toes on the ground there so that there's that little bend between my toes and my feet. Again, just like with the hands and wrists, this might be challenging for you to get your toes in those positions. Many people have a lot of tightness in their feet and in their calves associated with Parkinson's. Okay, but from there, we are going to try to do just a little bit of a lift of the knees and then back down. This is preparing us for our next move we're going to try. And again, we're going to lift up and back down. Okay, now some of you might not be able to do this. Okay, just give it your best effort to lift those knees up and back down. Okay, and we're going to try another stretch. If what we just did, lifting the knees up and down, was not possible for you, then I encourage you to sit out and wait for the next stretch that we're going to do. You can watch what we're going to do, but this next one might be a little bit harder if you couldn't do that initial lift. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, for those that were able to do that lift, we are going to go into a downward dog. If you are familiar with yoga, okay, you would be familiar with this. That's where we lift up, okay, as far as we're able to go. Now, again, a lot of you might have tight legs. The back of the legs might feel really tight. So you might maintain a little bit of a bend in your knees. If you're able to, though, we want to try to straighten those legs out as far as possible, okay, so that you are feeling a really good stretch down the back of the legs, maybe in your low back. The other thing is, notice that my head here is kind of up and it's not in between my arms. But if you're able to, I want you to bring your head down in between your arms as you do that. Okay, now if you feel lightheaded, you don't need to hold this, you can come out of it. But if this feels comfortable for you, we're just going to stay here for a moment and we're going to move our legs, kind of pumping our heels back and forth to get a nice stretch. This is a fantastic full body stretch if you are able to do it. Good. I'm going to come back down onto my knees. And then we're going to do that one more time. Okay. It's also a good workout for the arms here. You might be feeling it. And again, I'm going to lift up, lifting those hips up. And I'm going to move those heels back and forth to get a better stretch. Good. And then back down. Excellent. Now we'll take a little break on those arms and we're going to go into a position that's called child's pose, again from yoga. And with that, I'm spreading my knees a little bit further apart. And I'm going to bring my hips back towards my heels and let my head, my forehead, come towards the floor. Okay, so some of you might have different ability to do this depending on how much hip motion or knee motion you have. If it doesn't look like this, it's okay. If your hips are up a little higher, maybe because of stiffness, that is perfectly fine. Just go to the level that feels comfortable for you. You can also, if it feels better for you, you can take a pillow and put it behind you and kind of sit on that pillow as you do this as well. That is an option. Okay, let me just adjust my screen. And so we're here in that child's pose. You could have been holding it that entire time. This hopefully feels very nice for you, kind of a resting position. Now from here, we're going to walk one of our arms over to the side. So it's causing me to kind of bend my back to the side. And notice again, I'm trying to keep a straight arm with that hand that's reaching, and I'm engaged all the way through my fingertips. I keep saying that about the fingertips because so many people with Parkinson's, their hands go into that flexed position. And I want you to try to be stretching all the way through your fingertips as often as possible. Good, let's do the other side. Walk it back, stretch the other arm over to the side. For me, this feels wonderful through the shoulder, through the side of the rib cage. Good. One more time each side. Stretch over. Go as far as you can to get that good stretch. If you're not feeling a stretch, I encourage you to move that arm over a little bit further to see if you can feel one. And again, the other side. Don't forget to breathe. Great. Okay. Oh, coming back to the center. We're going to come on up from there. Hopefully your upper back feels a little bit more loose. Your shoulders, your wrist feel a little bit more loose. Now we're going to go ahead and stretch out the front of our thighs and the front of our hips. So you can use that chair if you like for balance, but you don't need it. We're going to be getting into this kneeling position, a half kneel. One knee is down, one leg is up, trying to get that foot as flat on the ground as possible. And you might want to take that back foot and come up onto the toes. That will increase the stretch a little bit. And from here, I am going to lean forward. While I'm doing that though, I'm thinking about my pelvis and my tailbone back here. And I'm thinking about kind of tucking that tailbone underneath me. As I do that tucking motion underneath me, it increases the stretch on my hip, okay? Our goal is that we are stretching the front of the thigh, the side that's down, the front of the thigh and the front of that hip. Okay, so we're leaning forward, but keeping that tucked position so that we can get that good stretch on the front of the thigh. And we're going to get a little bit of a 2-for-1 here. We're then going to rock back. And that front leg, we're going to point those toes up and straighten out the leg. Okay, and send those hips back a little bit like that. Oh, now I'm getting a good hamstring stretch. Good, and now I'm going to go forward again, still keeping that tuck. Now I'm getting the stretch on the front of the leg. Good. And then back, getting a good hamstring stretch. One more time, forward. And back. Now again, this is a recorded video, so anytime you need to, if something feels good and you want to do it more, please pause the video and get some more repetitions in or hold it for a little bit longer so that you are getting stretched out where it feels most needed for you. Okay, we are going to switch our legs around now. So the leg that was up is now coming down and vice versa. I'm going to lift up onto my toes on that back foot. I'm going to start with tucking that pelvis as I lean forward. Again, I'm getting stretched through here and in the front of the hip. Such critical muscles to stretch when everybody gets so tight through here. Again, those with Parkinson's, because of that tendency towards that flexed posture, keeps these muscles tight, but also the general population from doing a lot of sitting, whether it be in our cars, at our computers, on the couch. So great stretch to do. Now let's go and head and rock back as we straighten out that front leg so that we can stretch those hamstrings over here. You can remember, you can keep holding on for balance if you need it. All right, and then forward. Now getting that stretch here again. And back. Stretching towards those toes. Feeling it in the back of the leg. And forward. Oh, this feels so good. Remember to keep the shoulders relaxed. And then bringing those hips back again. To stretch those hamstrings. Wonderful. Okay, now we are going to switch positions onto our backs. Okay, so from here, just rolling onto those backs. We're going to get some good stretches in this position as well. We're going to go all the way down, and we are going to start off again with some spine rotation. So I'm going to have you start with your legs flat. They can be a little spread apart if you like. That might be more comfortable. Arms straight out to the side in a T position with your palms facing up. And again, I want you to stay engaged all the way through your fingertips. So your hands are wide open while you're here. We're going to start with a power twist where we take one hand over, try to go over as far as you can so that you can clap that hand that's on the floor, and then open back up, and then come over here and clap, and then open back up. So this is getting some really good movement on my spine while also engaging my core muscles. Now, you notice as I'm coming over, I kind of push off on my heel, and that helps me get over. But if you need to, you can do this with your knees bent if that is easier for you. Okay, so we're just going to go side to side for a few rounds. Just loosening up those back muscles, engaging those core muscles. And now onto our backs. Now we're going to get some lower spine rotation. Now I am going to have you bend your knees. And I still have my feet about hip width apart. And I'm going to let those knees fall over to one side, letting my hip come up as I do that. And then I'm going to bring them up to the center and then control them over to the other side. I want to make sure it's controlled. I don't want those knees flopping from one side to the other. And then pull them up to the center and over to the other side. Again, we are rotating through our lumbar spine or low spine. Side to side a couple more times. Okay, good. Now we're going to get into some more hip and leg stretching while we're here. I'm going to put my left leg down. You can start with either leg you want. I'm going to take my right leg up, and I'm going to be hugging that knee into the chest. Now, you can either grab over this part of the leg bone and pull into your chest, okay? But if that hurts your knee, then I encourage you to hold behind the thigh like that instead, so that you're not compressing on the knee as much. This stretch is much more effective when that other leg is down flat, okay? So do try to have that part. Giving it a nice hug. And then we're going to go into another hamstring stretch where I'll let my leg come away from my body a little bit, but I'm still holding behind the thigh. And now I'm going to straighten that leg as best as I can. Okay, I'm doing so with a flexed foot. And then letting it bend for a second to release. And then I'm going to push into that again. Trying to go straight as I can. You should really feel the back of the leg stretch. Straighten it out, or as close to straight as you can go. It'll look a lot different depending on the person. For some people with really tight hamstrings, you might not be able to get it straighter than maybe about like so, okay? A lot of those previous stretches we did for the hamstrings will help you get there. One more time. Good. Now, you're going to take that, for me, it's my right knee. I'm going to take it in my opposite hand, my left hand, and I'm going to pull across my body. I'm keeping my right arm on the ground, sort of as a counterbalance, as I pull that knee across. And I feel this as a really nice stretch through the back of my right hip. It's, again, a little bit of a spine twist, but only go as far as feels comfortable for you. Okay, for some people, this is a little too much pressure on the hip. Good. And then back to center. Now we're going to do the figure 4 stretch. Okay, so I've been stretching my right leg. I'm going to bring my left leg up, resting my right ankle on top of the left thigh. And then I am going to start lifting up the left leg and try to get my hands down so that I can wrap it around that left thigh and pull my left thigh into my chest. Now I'm pulling my left thigh, but along with it, my right leg is coming. It's the one in that figure 4 position, and it is getting, for me, a great hip stretch going on. Again, for some other people, this might feel a little too intense, so you can back off. You don't have to pull in quite so closely if that's the case for you. So many people are very tight in these muscles. A lot of people that experience sciatica are very tight in these muscles. Good. And then let's go ahead and release that. Now we are going to do those same 4 stretches on the other side, and then we will be done. So again, I am going to now take my right leg, which I was stretching, and put it flat on the ground. I'm going to take my left leg up towards my chest. Again, you can hug on top or hold behind the knee, but just pulling in nice and tight to get a good stretch for your posterior hip muscles and your low back. And now we're going to go more into that hamstring stretch again. Okay, so I'm going to ease off a little bit and then try straightening that leg up towards the ceiling. And I'm doing so with a flexed foot, almost like I'm trying to take my heel and push my heel up towards the ceiling. Now you might be like me, when you try really pushing hard, that leg starts to shake a little bit. That's okay, that's normal. Oh, that feels good to stretch. I also like moving my foot around once I get up there. I can feel that stretch in different ways. Good. Whew. Great. Okay, now we're going to take that knee, hold with the opposite hand, and pull across our body. Again, to the point where that hip is lifting up a little bit. I feel a nice stretch right back through here in the back of my hip. But again, for some people, this might feel like a little too much pressure on their inner hip while they do this, especially if you have some known hip arthritis in there. So please just go as far, push only as much as is comfortable for you today. But I still encourage you to try and incorporate these stretches, because even if you do have hip arthritis or back pain, these are all great things that you should be trying to do to help loosen up those joints. Okay, and then last but not least, that figure 4 stretch. So I'm going to bring that bottom leg up. I'm going to hook my ankle on top of it. And then, again, for me, it's my right leg that's down. I'm going to lift it up, hook my arms through if you're able to. Okay, for some of you, you might not be able to get there. You might not be able to bring those legs up high enough to even be able to loop your hands in. Okay, if that's the case, I highly encourage you to do this form of a stretch in the chair. And we went through that stretch in our full body stretches with a chair, where we simulated the same motion but sitting in the chair. And so if this is hard for you to do, I encourage you to do the stretch in that position as well. Go find that video. Always remembering to breathe. Every time you breathe out, see if you can just relax that body a little bit more. All right, so let's go ahead and set that down. And that is going to be it for our floor stretches today. So hopefully your back is looser, your hips are looser, your legs are looser. Again, if you are somebody that has back pain or leg pain or hip pain, I encourage you to try these stretches on a very regular basis to help manage that. But again, only push as far as you are comfortable. If this is something where you recurrently have pain and issues doing it, please seek out your physical therapist to help you with that so that you can maintain as best of joint mobility as possible and stay engaged in activity for as long as possible. All right, thank you and keep on stretching.
This video is brought to you by Synapse Fitness Foundation, a nonprofit empowering people with Parkinson's to live their best lives through exercise, education, and connection to others. The presenter of today's video is Dr. Kelly Becker, physical therapist and founder of Synapse Fitness Foundation. If you found today's video useful, please click the like button and forward this video onto somebody that you think would find this useful. Thank you.